Chelsea 3, Wolves 0. Another win, clean sheet, another 3-0. How are we feeling, Lewis?
Bro, I don't know what to make of that one. Like you said, 3-0, no defenders scored. Mount got 2 open play assists. Havertz scored. Pulisic scored. Brozier scored. And that was with our B team. I'll be real, if you asked me in 40 minutes what sort of game we were looking at, I was going to say, if we take 1-0, I'm happy. As soon as we got that first goal, though, like, the whole game opened up a bit more. Wolves now had the game to chase. And I feel like our attackers got better as a result of that. And they thrived. Like, Pulisic and Brozier's goals as well. Like, the fact that they were able to get the ball, they were able to manipulate and create their own space. And then it was beautiful finishes from the pair of them as well. It's refreshing. Very, very refreshing, because I can't lie, that first half was atrocious. That first half was absolutely dreadful. I thought we were never going to score. The ball was going everywhere but in the back of the net. All it needed, though, was just that one push. And it's making me feel a little bit more confident in the side. I'm trying to be in... I'm not trying to go over myself or be ahead or over the top or anything. But it's 2 games, 2 3-0 wins. We're now starting to keep clean sheets. And now even our B team's getting results as well. I'll be real, I took one look at that lineup. I thought, this game is going to be long. But Potter, bro, it was a madness. Absolute madness. I'm so happy with the way that we played.
Because the way I look at it is Wolves are one of the teams that are doing worse than most in the Premier League, right? So I expected a result. I'm surprised that you didn't feel the same way.
I expected a win. I didn't expect a convincing performance or even to win 3-0. I thought Wolves were going to come. They were just going to stick 10 men behind the ball. We were never going to be able to find our way into the back of the net. But we got through a lot earlier than I thought we would. Like, brilliant header from Havertz. Like, that's one of the few things that I can say. At least I know I can trust him on that. Good header. Didn't expect it to loop in, but that's exactly what we needed. We need those clinical moments, and we need them earlier on in games. Like, granted, it was like the last minute or 2 before half-time. But if they go into half-time and it's 0-0, they're just going to take the draw. Then they will be even more defensive, and we would have struggled even more. That first goal allowed us to open up the game a little bit more. And as soon as we did that, the midfield looked a little bit better. Going forward, we were starting to look better on 1v1s. We were starting to make our own chance as well. And after Pulisic's second goal came in, game was already done. It was just about holding on to the victory. And we did that. We were retaining possession well, slowing down the game. Wolves started taking more of the ball. They started trying to create their own chances, but they didn't really make anything that clear-cut. No. And it was just easy for us from that point. But it's about getting us to that point. Like, there's always been the worry that we'd never really come out of the gates running. But now we're at least managing games better as the game progresses, and that's looking like the difference between the two sides.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Pulisic got a great goal, Havertz as well scoring, and Broha. But I want to really highlight Havertz and Pulisic, because they're the players that be getting the criticism more than most. Obviously Mount as well with the assist, so credit to him. Take away the goals from those 2 players, though, Havertz and Pulisic. What do you think about their overall performance?
I didn't want to say that, because then I'm going to just be negative, and I really don't want to be negative after this performance. But before the goal, Mount, Pulisic, Havertz were atrocious. They were genuinely terrible. They weren't making good chances. Chances were being put on a plate as well. Like, chance creation was not our problem in that first half. The problem is the finish wasn't good enough. The problem was players weren't in the right position. We were turning over possession too easily, and we were just being wasteful. Like, our best attacker in that first half was Conor Gallagher. He was the one that looked energetic. He was the one that looked like he was trying to create chances. He was dominating on that right-hand side. Very unlucky that he didn't end up with a goal and an assist. Unless he didn't, I'm wrong. But he didn't. So very unlucky on his regard, because I thought he was the most consistent attacker out the lot. After the first goal, I think everyone improved. Everybody improved. We started looking a little bit more confident. Havertz looked a bit better in build-up play. I think Pulisic was taking on a few more players as well, and they started to look a bit more successful in what they were trying to do. But if we're going to talk individually about those players, it really was a game of 2 halves. It was a much better second half, but you can't shake the fact the first half was terrible. I just don't want to put too much emphasis on it, because we just won 3-0 again. Like, everyone's in a good mood, but let's call it what it is. It was only a good second half.
Because I think in that second half especially, that's when Potter actually gave Pulisic a little bit more freedom, and that's when the link up with Havertz paid off, and he obviously got his second goal. It's almost a case of Havertz, when he's isolated, he really struggles. But when he's given the service, when he's got players to work around, which is why you play him with a second striker or you play him as a cam, that's when he performs.
To me, I just thought he was better because the game opened up a bit more after the first goal, and then he had a bit more space to deal with. And I think that was where you started to see the best out of him. I don't think it was a case of he was isolated or anything, because he was in positions to receive the ball. He was getting the ball a decent amount of times as well. He just wasn't doing anything with it. And it's the same thing with Pulisic and with Mount. They improved because we got the first goal, but that's why it's so vital that you need to start these games hitting the ground running. And like, that's been a question mark over Chelsea this season. We'd never really start that well, but we get into it as the game progresses. That's nothing I'm going to say too much about, because it is still the first few weeks of Potter, and you're going to have those issues. So I truly understand that. But from a player perspective, like, we don't switch on straight away. There's the same thing with Tuchel before he left. And that's something that we're going to need to get into. But was our B team? I expected a lot less than this performance, so I am very happy coming out of it. But it's just about continuing it as well, because we are going to see this sort of team play a lot more too. So we do need to get used to it. We do also have to back them a little bit as well. And starters, you mean to go on, just like we're doing now?
Absolutely, mate. And with Loftus-Cheek as well, we talk about B team. He's been a rotation player really his whole time under Tuchel, obviously under Lampard. Not really getting that much. I think he was on loan under Lampard as well. Now he's starting to break into the squad, but he's not just playing, he's playing with real character. He's dominating. You know, do you think he's earned the right to start in Milan?
He came off, didn't he?
Yes, he did come off.
Okay, yeah, he might actually get some game time then, because I still wouldn't throw N'Golo Kante straight into this sort of game, or Kovacic potentially, depends on the way he sets up. But Loftus-Cheek, brilliant against AC Milan. I wouldn't say he was as good as he was in the Milan game, but I still think he was a solid player. First half, again, like, everybody wasn't good, and I felt like not just him, the midfield in general was getting bypassed very easily on transition, and that was what was scaring me, because I was thinking, if Wolves score, it's because we're going to have a lackluster attack. They're just going to bomb down the other end, because we were not handling that well at all. But again, after the first goal, Wolves fell into their shell a little bit more. Like, the pressure was now fully on them. We started seeing the game open up a bit more, and Loftus-Cheek looked more confident as a result. And if we're talking about the Milan game, bigger pitch, there's more incentive on AC Milan. They play a much more open game than what we would have expected from Wolves. It would have been open for the whole 90 as opposed to just the second half. I wouldn't be against playing Ruben. Like, his form's been good enough. He looks very confident. It wouldn't be fair to drop him in this sort of form as well, the more you think about it. Yeah, start him against AC Milan. He deserves it.
Absolutely. And another player as well who I think deserves a lot of credit is Azpilicueta. You know, he's not been getting much game time, but he produced. And it may be against Wolves, but it was a solid performance.
He was one of our better players in that first half, which kind of says a lot, because I still didn't think he was great, but it was more like, from what we've seen with Azpi, like, I didn't think he played that badly. I thought he tried to generate a couple chances, did get caught out here and there, but like, when you're bombing so many players forward and you're just trying to do anything to get a goal, you will find yourself caught out every now and then, especially when you're as slow as Azpi is now at this age. But even in spite of that, I thought he did very well. He did very well. In the first half, I thought only him, Koulibaly and Gallagher were the only players that really stood out to me. Everybody else, like, they all struggled. But yeah, it was a good performance from him.
I was really chuffed with him, to be fair, especially because he was almost on the out, and you think to yourself he's not going to get that much game time, but with all the rotation you can't help but see him playing more games, and if he plays like this, I think all Chelsea fans are going to be happy. Just touching on the goalkeeping situation. Now, Mendy's obviously come off an injury. He was a little bit ill, or I don't know exactly what his problem is, but Kepa's been starting games, he's been playing well, and we've been getting clean sheets. Do you think this is a case of Potter sticking with the keeper he's got, knowing that it's working, or Mendy, who was our number one keeper before, should he come back into the fold, and should there be a bit more competition with that side?
Nah, right now Kepa shouldn't be getting dropped. I don't even think it's a case of like he's been outstanding or anything. I still don't think he has, but I think he's just done his job, and he's done it to the best that he could do. Just hasn't really been tested that yet. Yeah. AC Milan barely tested him. Wolves barely tested him. Palace, other than their goal, didn't really test him too much. There was no outstanding saves or anything. But Mendy's been making easy work look like hard work when he was playing this season. Kepa's come in. He hasn't had a lot to deal with, but he's done his job. He's kept clean sheets. There's no reason to drop him. Genuinely, there's no reason anybody could make for it. If you trust Mendy more, fair enough, but I don't see why right now. He has to find a way to push himself back into the squad, but he's not going to get an opportunity until Kepa makes a mistake. And I'm not going to speak a Kepa mistake into existence, because I already have my reservations about him. He already does worry me here or there. But he's doing his job. He's playing well. So what if he hasn't really been tested? I'm not going to hold that against him. Like, all you can do is whatever is faced in front of you. And he's been doing his job. Doesn't deserve to get dropped. I think it would send a really bad message to the dressing room if it did.